Hello, welcome back to Catholic Reboot. This episode is going to be on Calumny. And to kind of bring it home, I want to kind of open up with something a Catholic priest had said to me during Lent one year. I said, Father, other than giving up meat on Friday, I'm trying to think about what else I can give up during Lent. And he responded, why don't you give up the meat in other people's back? It's pretty good. I like that. And what was he referring to, right? So he was referring to when you get the instinct to want to talk about someone, resist that temptation, right? And talk about someone in a negative way. When I was growing up, my dad would always say, look, if you have nothing good to say about someone, don't say it, right? And that really comes out of that whole idea of calumny, right? Now, Father John Hardin wrote in his modern Catholic dictionary works, injuring another person's good name by lying, okay? So, as our Catechism of the Catholic Church explains, and it's in paragraph 2479, both calumny and the related sin of detraction, not distraction, detraction, and detraction is revealing another's sins to a third party who does not need to know about them. Both of those destroy the reputation and the honor of someone else, all right? So in this day of social media where people just willy-nilly go out and cancel people out, or have private exchanges much more easily with others on the internet, are committing this type of sin effortlessly, right? And we used to always refer to it as gossip, right? Now, the honor in a social witness scenario that's given to our human dignity is very important, and everyone enjoys a natural right to the honor of their name and reputation and to the respect that should come with it, right? And that was highly regarded. Your name, you remember the saying, my name is my honor, right? Matter of fact, in centuries ago, if someone spoke ill of your name, they would have a duel to the death because you destroyed someone's honor. So it was never taken lightly. So detraction and calumny offend against the virtues of what? The virtues of justice and charity, right? So while detraction can cause great damage through telling the truth, calumny is, if anything, even worse because it involves the telling of a lie or something that one believes to be a lie, right? If you've never experienced a direct attack of calumny at a high level, it can take your breath away. Because within an instant, and especially in the internet world, where everything is believed as long as it's typed out, within an instant you can lose your name. I have a personal experience with that. Now, you can engage in detraction without intending to do damage to a person that you're discussing. But calumny is the definition of malicious, right? So the point of calumny is, at the very least, to lower the opinion one person has about another person, right? So what can calumny be? It can even have a little bit more of a subtle and insidious nature, right? So if we look up in our Catholic Catechism, paragraph 2477, a person is guilty of calumny if he or she, by remarks contrary to the truth, harms the reputation of others, and gives occasion of false judgment concerning them, right? So the person who engages in calumny does not even have to be specific or even specify the untruth about another. All he or she has to do is place the doubt about that person in the minds of others. Okay? Now, there's a story about a penitent who went to confession and said to the priest, you know, I spoke ill of this one guy, and I'm hardly sorry. What kind of penance can I do? And the priest said, well, let's take this in steps. Go take a pillow, a goose feathered pillow, out of your bed, and then go up on top of that hill and rip it open and throw out all the feathers, and then come back and talk to me, right? So the person does that, and the person thinks, boy, that was an easy penance, right? So when he comes back to the priest, he said, well, that was pretty easy. I did that, so now can you give me absolution? He said, no. To get absolution, what I need you to do is go pick up every one of those feathers, right? Now that gives you an idea. There's no way that that penitent's going to be able to pick up every one of those feathers. They're in the wind and gone, right? Similar to when somebody commits the sin of calumny, what comes out of their mouth to destroy another person at times can never repair that person's honor, that person's name, and that person's dignity, right? So while truth is not a defense against the charge of detraction, right, it is against the charge of calumny, right? So if you want to have revealed to someone about a third party is true, you're not guilty of calumny, okay? If the person you revealed it to has no right to that information, though, you are still guilty of detraction. Now, calumny goes hand in hand with the gospel. So while we often think of gossip as a venial sin, the Catechism, paragraph 2484, calumny is so serious that it can amount to a mortal sin if the lie that you tell causes grave danger and damage to the person in question, right? And I forget which saint said it, St. John or St. Thomas, said calumny is equivalent to cannibalism, which is a beautiful way of putting it. You've not only destroyed someone, but you're now devouring them after you destroyed them, right? So the gravity of a lie is measured against the nature of the truth it deforms, the circumstances, the intentions of the one who lies, and the harm suffered by the victim. If a lie in itself only constitutes a venial sin, it becomes mortal when it does grave injury to the virtues of justice and charity, right? And you see how this happens quite a bit. People willy-nilly will say, you know, I think so-and-so is whatever. Once you plant that seed, every time that other person sees that person that was talked about, they're going to have that vision in their mind. The damage is there. So once you've told a lie about another person, you are morally obligated to try to repair the damage you have done. In Catechism note paragraph 2487, this applies even a person about whom you have told the lie has forgiven you. So that reparation may be much more than simply admitting that you have lied. Okay, I had a priest, because this happened very viciously to me, and I had a priest somewhat intercede, and he actually went to those that were doing this and reminded them of how damaging it was. And it just so happens he was talking to a fellow religious, and they flipped it off as if there was no consequence to it. So this doesn't just happen among the laity, right? So the calumniator, right? Person committing the calumny must try not only to repair the harm done to another's good name, but also make up for any foreseen temporal loss that resulted from the calumny. For example, loss of employment, loss of business, or loss of customers, right? Now, the magnitude of the reparation must match the magnitude of the offense. And accordingly, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 2487, the reparation may be sometimes material as well as moral, right? So if you destroy someone's good name or their business and they don't have an ability to make a living again, that is significantly material. You basically stop them from being able to live, okay? And so it comes with even a greater level. Now you'll see today there's so many of these reputation repair groups out there that are making a lot of money, and there's so many of them. So you can just imagine how this is just increased exponentially. That these firms are making money trying to repair someone's reputation. What I discovered is they never can. The best they can do is try to lessen the effect as much as possible. In many cases, it just doesn't work. Once done, it's done, right? So to use Father Hardin's example, if your lie has caused someone to lose their job, you may even be obligated to make sure that that person can pay their bills and honor their debts and feed their family. That's how serious that is. So, like detraction, calumny is rarely ever a minor sin. So, most innocuous gossip can easily slip into this detraction category. And as you delight in the attention of the hearer at times, right? Because you'll hear people, really? No, they want to hear this, right? Even into calumny. It's no surprise that many of the early fathers of the church regarded gossiping and backbiting, like the priest had told me when I wanted to give something up during Lent, to be among the most common and yet the most dangerous of sins. Now, where does this kind of line up in the commandments? The act of bearing false witness against your neighbor or to destroy someone is an attack against the body of the church. That's why it made it into the precedent of the church, the Ten Commandments, right? So Christians who engage in calumny are like those responsible for the martyrdom of Saint Stephen. They chose the pettiness solution to annihilate a human being, and they slandered and false witness. And Saint Stephen was such a beautiful man that he even forgave him as he's being stoned to death, right? So he went to his red martyrdom over calumny. Now, the 8th commandment forbids misrepresenting the truth in our relationships with others, or relations, right? So this moral prescription flows from the vocation of the holy people to bear witness to their God, who is the truth and wills the truth. Offenses against the truth expressed by word or deed, a refusal to commit oneself to moral uprightness, right? They are fundamentally infidelities to God, and in this sense undermine the foundations of the covenant. Now let me really bring this home. So imagine someone goes out and destroys the name of one of your children. You will take a personal affront of what happened to your child. How much more God is going to take that affront as well, right? So the sin, as it's committed, is in general sense mortal, right? Just as distraction. It is hardly necessary to observe that as the other breaches of the law, the sin may be venial either because of a trivial character of the subject matter that's involved or because of the insufficient deliberation in making of the accusation. So, objectively speaking, calumny is a mortal sin when it is calculated to do serious harm to a person so traduced. Okay? I don't want to make this about me, but in my case, I was in the middle of a legal situation, and so it was intentionally done to create serious harm against my character. Why? So they could easily get out of the legal case and avoid discovery, right? So it was an intentional, calculated move to create a serious harm to me. So just as in the instance of wrongful damage to a person or a state, so the calumniator is bound to adequate reparation for the injury perpetrated by the blackening of another person's good name. So what are the steps here? That person is obligated, number one, to retract the false statements, and that even though his own reputation may be necessarily as a consequence of the suffering. Now, think about what that's saying. So if someone goes out and intentionally, calculatedly goes out to destroy your name to protect themselves in some way, by coming out to make reparation, they have to clear your name. They also have to basically do what? They now have to actually incriminate themselves in the process, right? So they have to suffer that consequence. Number two, that person must also make good what other losses have been sustained by the innocent party as a result of the libelous utterances provided. These have the same kind of measure, right? So in canon law, the phrase juramentum calumniae is employed to indicate the oath taken by the parties to a litigation by which they presented that action that was brought in defense of the other person's good name. Okay. Now, why are we talking about this? Well, for a lot of reasons. Number one, it is in our Catholic Catechism. Number two, we really all have to be very careful about what we say. Much like my father had taught us growing up, if you have nothing good to say about somebody, don't say it. Truth, not truth, right? Calumny or detraction, it serves no purpose, okay? All it can do is make you feel better about yourself, okay, which is another sin. It's a prideful position. When you hear something, and I would even say even to the closest person you have, your spouse, you may not want to utter that to them as well, even though you think you can confide in them, right? Because you hear people say, please don't repeat this. This is a secret between you and I. As soon as you hear that, say, whoop, don't want to know. I don't want to know because I don't want to ever have it said that I heard what you're about to tell me. All right, keep it to yourself, right? So that's another tip, by the way. Hey, let me tell you something, but you got to keep it a secret. I don't want to know. Okay, if it's gonna do damage to another person, I probably shouldn't know. Why? Because maybe it's gonna slip out unintentionally, and the other thing is, what good is it gonna create? Okay, does it lead to the salvation of my soul? Probably not. Get out of here. Okay, this is a quickie. I just thought it's a nice little snippet during the Lenten season to put out there. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode.